Welcome back to the Make or Break Shop. This week we're going to take a look at how to build a steel bed frame. This is my very first time welding, so I'm going to give you some tips and some things that I messed up along the way. Let's get into it. All right, what is up? I am Brandon, and this is the Make or Break Shop, where we like to make stuff, but we know that breaking things are part of the process. So this is one of my first projects doing anything with the welder, and I wanted to show you guys some of the things that I messed up along the way and some of the things that I kind of had to fix as I was going. Also, the room this is going in is like super echoey, so this probably sounds horrible. But let's actually jump into the build. We're gonna be using square tubing. It's an inch thick and it's 16 gauge. And like most of my projects, all of this started with the design in Fusion 360.
All right, so let's jump into Fusion and start going through the design before we build this for real. So it's pretty basic. We got the mattress on top. I'm gonna turn that off. And then the walls are gonna be these wooden panels, which is just 3/4 inch plywood that's going to be screwed into some brackets. So then the frame is 1 inch square tubing that is 16 gauge. So that's like a 1/16 of an inch or somewhere. The idea is that I need to be able to disassemble most of this. And this guy is actually gonna be all welded together. So we're gonna have these brackets over here. Then basically we have two different pieces that we are going to weld together. And those are gonna be our first steps.
So we're gonna get the whole frame tacked together, then I'm going to flip it over, do it to the other side, and then we'll come back and hopefully put some pretty nice beads down, make it pretty strong.
So have you ever measured something and it was supposed to be like 76 inches, but for whatever reason, when you cut it out, it was 67 inches? Well, that is the case for this guy. So we're gonna have to figure out how to fix it. I am thinking that I can just cut this in half. So then add in those few inches just as a new piece and then weld it back together. I'm hoping that's gonna make it strong enough. Let's go ahead and cut that in half and get to welding in the fix. And then maybe not make so many mistakes in the future. So now we have the main sections welded together. I'm going to jump back into Fusion to show you we are basically going to be cutting out these little bracket pieces. I could have just welded this directly across. In this case, I just did a little corner bracket with some 1/4 inch holes drilled in. And then those are going to go on both sides. And then also we're going to do the same thing at the ends of each of our supports so that it can then attach directly into the piece.
And if you guys are interested in checking out how I model in Fusion 360, I have a full course that'll kind of walk you through the super basics all the way through creating a full model as well as making plans and doing cut lists, all that kind of stuff is inside of the course. And actually Fusion has made some changes here recently, but if you guys are doing furniture stuff, you can still pretty much do everything on the full version. And so you're gonna be still good to go. So there's gonna be a link right down below. There's also a discount if you guys want to check it out, as well as some of my free tutorials as well. All right, let's get back into the bed build.
So where this bed is going, it's actually gonna be really hard to fit it through the doorway and through the door. So I'm actually not gonna be able to put the front support onto the bed yet. But what I'm gonna do is bolt it in. So I'm making these little corner brackets. So we're cutting out the pieces and welding them together. And then I'm just dropping in some 1/4 inch holes so that hopefully I'll be able just to drop a bolt through and screw it in from the other side.
Yay!
And now we are going to weld these.
All right, so I just clamped this front piece onto the frame. And so now I'm gonna go in with a drill and drill a hole all the way through, going off the holes I already have in the bracket. so that then I can drive a bolt through and then lock everything down into place. So we've got the base built, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the slats. Initially, these were gonna be wood, but just because I had to weld all of that together, I am actually just going to do tubing with it. Now, because this is attaching, I can only weld it to one side. Basically, it's gonna be almost like half of the bed is all bolted together. I think it's gonna work. But anyway, so we've got everything laid out, and now we're gonna go weld all that together. So we've got these clamped onto the back, and then we are going to drill a hole all the way through the bracket as well as that back support. So then we can put a bolt and a nut. And hopefully with all of these, with everything bolted in, it's gonna keep it real secure, and hopefully I'll be able to get it into the room once we get it up there. I'm gonna be adding in just some plywood to the sides. So all I've done is I got some angle iron and I've cut these little pieces out, and these are going to be the little brackets that we will screw into the plywood from the backside. I'm just gonna tack these on. That should hopefully be all it needs, because this really isn't holding weight. This is really holding the piece in place. All the plywood weight is just gonna be resting there on the bottom. All right, so now with the frame built, we are staining a couple pieces of wood. This probably isn't gonna be the final piece, because honestly, these don't look that great. And then I'm going to put all of those back on, dry fit everything, so hopefully it all works. And then I can basically disassemble it and then take it upstairs and get it into place. You're fine, buddy. Also, my son is like right here making noise. And I still need to touch stuff up, but you kind of get an idea of how this is working. So I'm gonna do my best job of getting this out of here without breaking it. Still kind of wishing I may have just screwed this whole thing together, but we'll see. Whew. Real echoey right now. We've got some carpets down, but we've got the bed finally into place. All right, so let's talk about this thing and a few things that I really wish I'd done differently. First off, so I made the base removable, but I really wish I'd made the entire frame so I could bolt it together. It was really hard to get it around the house. I even scratched up a few things trying to get it here. So if I was gonna do this over again, I would still use the same kind of bracket technique and just bolt the entire frame together. Then for the sides, which is really, I guess, the top and the bottom if you're using this as a bed, we're also gonna be using this as a couch. I wish I had dropped those down in the design, so then you could see over it a lot easier and use it more like a normal couch. And then I wouldn't have to use as much wood. And speaking of the wood, this stuff is just, it was like the step up from like the construction plywood. It just doesn't look good at all. Also, I'm not sure how big of a deal it is, but so what I might need to do is actually come back and put another support right down here, because if I put all my weight here, you can definitely see it flexing a little bit. But once I put the entire base on, I think it's gonna be all right. And that's actually another thing. If the mattress is sitting here and all the weight is going here, there's nothing to like support it on this side. Is it really bad audio? It probably is. So I've just added those pieces of wood and screwed them in from the side. It's not the strongest, but it's gonna work for what we need for the most part. Now we got that done. I'm gonna put the mattress on, make sure everything fits. So I'm still sinking in a good bit. I probably need to make the slats even closer together. Now I'm just gonna come back just with a sheet of plywood and just lay it down just so we're gonna have a good base, because I'm probably gonna wind up going back and adding in some more supports. So if you guys are doing something similar, just make sure to add in more supports than I actually did. But for the actual frame, I think this is gonna work pretty well. So just like this was the first time working with metal, all the mistakes that I did along the way, I did something kind of similar when I did a bunch of farmhouse tables. So kind of the top mistakes I made. If you guys are doing something similar, and we're gonna jump into that right now. Again, if you guys wanna check out the Fusion stuff, it is right up there. I'd love to see you inside the course. So until next time, go make or break something in your shop. See you guys.